Hey, good morning and welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. So, I have some time before my first meeting. I have a dissertation meeting with my chairperson. So, I thought I'd do a video on my experience riding the Los Angeles Metro City bus and just taking the transit in LA in general. This is going to be really funny, you guys. So, just stay tuned. I just got out here to my school. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, so excuse me, y'all, for eating my breakfast. I know y'all don't mind anyway. But y'all, like, what motivated me to do this video topic is actually my experience on riding the bus last night, which I'm gonna get to in a little bit. But I just find it interesting that when I tell people like how I get around and I tell people that I take public transportation, I don't have a car, it's like a lot of people for some reason they get so concerned about me. They're like, they're worried about my safety and all of that, right? Maybe I should have eat before I start this video, but I'm kind of pressing for time. When I finish this video, I'm actually going to work on my dissertation before I meet with my chairperson. So bear with me, you guys. Bear with me. Hello, though. Good morning. How are you guys doing? All right. Let me take a pause. I really want to get into this. This is like too funny, but I gotta get some nutrition in my body. And y'all, it's early. It's like 9:55 here, so East Coast. I know y'all in the afternoon, but it's still morning for me. Still bright and early. So yeah, like I was saying, like a lot of people. What's up, Lamont? So a lot of people find it interesting, like when I tell them that, I rely on public transportation to get around. They're like concerned about my safety. They're like, oh, how do you get around? How do you make it in LA without a car? And I'm just like, well, to be quite honest, it's not that bad. I always tell people it's not as bad as a lot of people try to make it seem. And a lot of people, some people don't know that, like, before I moved to Los Angeles in 2016 to start my PhD studies, I was actually living in New York City. And everybody knows in New York City, most people that live in the city, they take public transportation. They take the bus, they take the train. Like, this is not out of the ordinary. So when I moved to LA, it was like, okay, I just kind of, I kept with the same frame of mind. I'm like, okay, I was relying on public transportation in New York City. So being in LA, I'm like, what's the big difference, right? But there is a difference between the way Los Angeles is laid out versus the way New York City is laid out, because New York City actually has a lot more coverage when it comes to the public transit system compared to LA. But LA is getting better. It's getting better. But for the most part, I'm like, I'm used to it. I lived in New York City for 2 years and I was taking public transportation. And that's just how I got around, y'all. Like, that, I'm just used to that. And before I was living in New York City, I was actually living in Atlanta, Georgia, and their transit system is kind of similar to Los Angeles public transportation system. So while there aren't as many trains like in Atlanta, it's the same in Los Angeles. It's not that many. I mean, it's growing. Like, they're developing it, and they're expanding the train lines in Los Angeles, but it's kind of like Atlanta. So Atlanta is like not like New York City, where like you have trains that go everywhere. It's not like that. So Atlanta, they have trains that run like north, south, east, west throughout the city, and then wherever the train doesn't go, the bus goes. So I was taking public transportation even in Atlanta. But actually in Atlanta, I actually owned a car. My dad had purchased me a brand new car. I paid for it in full. That's a whole nother story about what happened to that. It actually got totaled. Like, there was a total loss because it caught on fire and it was like beyond my control. But that's a whole nother story. So Yeah, I've owned cars like in the past. Not like I don't have a driver's license. Like I have a valid California driver's license, and I know how to drive. It's nothing that, it's not that I don't know how to drive or I don't have a driver's license. It's just that I've gotten used to taking public transportation, and it works for me. And not only that, but I'm able to save money because, to be honest, I don't like the idea of paying insurance. Like I could actually purchase a car, a brand new car in full. Like let's say a car that's like $10,000. I can purchase one in full and it's all said and done with, but I'll still have to pay insurance, and it's just like I feel like I'm a safe driver, so it's like paying insurance. Yes, it's the security in case something happens, but for me, it's like I don't get into accidents. Like I'm a mature driver now, back in my early 20s. That's a different story. But I mean, I'm about to be 35. Like actually, I think next week on the September 28th. So I feel like the way like I drive, is pretty safe. So I don't have any issues when it comes to that. And I'm like, okay, paying all this money towards insurance, and then it would be nice if they give that money back to you, right? But they don't give it back to you. It's like you pay like thousands of dollars towards insurance, and it's just wasted. So I don't know. I'm all about saving money. With that being said, it's like I am saving money to buy a home. Like I plan to, when I finish my PhD studies, I want to purchase a house. So yeah, that's to me is more important, saving money. And I'm okay with getting around. Not only that, but it's fun. Like I'm gonna talk more about that later. But as far as the safety issue, like I said, I live in New York City, and I feel like living in New York City is way more dangerous than Los Angeles. Like I don't know, not I won't say dangerous, but like the people there, the culture there is like people are more aggressive in New York City than they are in Los Angeles. So people are like, oh, Los Angeles, you got to be careful. And I'm just like, no, you got to be careful in New York City. But even in New York City, I feel like it's still a stereotype that, oh, New York City is a dangerous city. It has gangs. And when I was living there, I didn't experience that. And I was all over New York City. Like when I first moved there, I actually lived in Manhattan, Upper Manhattan. Then I moved to the Bronx sometime after. But I didn't get that vibe like I'm living in a dangerous city. Now, my home city of Jacksonville, Florida, where I was born and raised, that is a dangerous city. Like, yeah, a lot of people in Jacksonville, Florida, tote guns. Like, it's the thing to do. It's a lot of violence, a lot of crime. Even at my high school and even middle school, like we had metal detectors in my middle school. I remember when they first introduced those metal detectors, and it's just like for middle school, like really. So, yeah. If anything, I feel like my home city has primed me, to kind of live in, I guess, these so-called high risk areas or dangerous cities that oftentimes get a bad rep in the media, like Los Angeles, New York City. Like, it's kind of known for, oh, they're dangerous, it's crime. But I'm like, nah, ain't no crime like in Florida. Like, yeah, people look at Florida and think like Walt Disney World and Universal Studios, but that's Orlando. You have Orlando, then you have Florida, okay? And then you have Jacksonville, Florida, and anybody from Jacksonville, Florida know like it's off the chain. So I feel like, yeah, like they say, you can survive New York City, you can make it anywhere. No, I feel like if you can survive Jacksonville, Florida, you can make it anywhere. And I've definitely survived Jacksonville, Florida, being born and raised there. Like I said, everybody toting guns, and people are trigger happy there. They like black people. It's a lot of black on black crime, and people pull the gun out on you for many different reasons. I've seen people like I've been I've been in the same room where a gun has been pulled out on a person. Actually one of my friends got a gun pulled out on him. That's a whole nother story, but it's like, yeah, it's off the chain there. So I remember even being 16 years old living with my dad. Like, I guess he was a little bit concerned about my safety, just growing up and getting older. And he actually introduced his gun to me. Like, I remember he took his gun and he took me outside and he showed me how to shoot a gun. Like, he was the first person that showed me how to shoot a gun. And he wanted to put it in my hands. And I think I did. I took it in my hands, but he really wanted me to shoot it. And I'm like, I'm not shooting this. Like, I ain't fucking with it, right? But he was telling me just basically like the rules of using a gun, and like if I ever pull a gun out on someone, then I better use it. He was like, if you ever, I remember those words like clear as day. He was like, if you ever pull a gun out on somebody, you better use it, right? And so, thank God. Honestly, I never shot a gun. I've held guns. My ex, who I was dating 5 years, he was so fascinated with guns. So living like we were roommates at first, and then we started dating, and being that he I was always around guns because he had guns. Like, he just loved guns so much. He would play with his gun. It was like a toy for him. Be shooting it in the air. So I mean, I feel like being exposed to just crime and just risky situations, like, I feel like I'm good. Not to say I'm untouchable, but I feel like I got this, I got this. And so I laugh. I sometimes laugh and joke and wonder, like, why do people actually are so concerned? Like, when I tell them that I take public transportation, like, even I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues the other day, and she was like, oh my gosh, you don't have a car? She was like, how do you get around? And she was saying how she was talking about her fear and how she experiences like getting around LA, and her biggest concern as a female, especially like as an international student, she's always concerned. Oh Lord. She's always concerned about the possibility. So she's never taken a public transportation. She's never taken a train because she's worried that something bad is going to happen. And I'm like, to be honest, I don't, knock on wood, but I haven't had necessarily a bad encounter where somebody has came up to me and tried to attack me or put their hands on me. Like, I've talked about a few instances where I've had encounters with homeless people, who are mentally unstable, but that's a kind of different situation, and usually those situations I can easily navigate myself out of, because I work in mental health. It's like I work around people, so I know how to work with situations and finesse certain things. So I'm like, I didn't necessarily feel that my life was in danger, even when I had a few encounters with the homeless people on public transportation here in Los Angeles. So for the most part, like, the experience for me has been pretty good. And then there are police who ride the train. So that's all I really have to say about the safety issue. But I really wanted to talk about last night, y'all. It's so funny because now, okay, I actually started my second practicum in my PhD program, working at a totally different clinical site with a totally different population. So my first was actually working in the Valley, working with adults with intellectual disabilities and severe mental illness, mainly working with white and Hispanic clients. Now my second one is actually on a totally different side of town. It's actually kind of like in a hood, and it's mostly serving African American clients. So I got my banana here, y'all. So being that I live in Hollywood, of course I commute to my site via public transportation. And it's just, I don't know, I find it to be quite exciting. Like, for me, riding the train and the bus in LA, it's like an adventure. And people oftentimes look at Los Angeles as if it's like people look at Los Angeles and say, oh, they got gangs and they got thugs. And I'm like, really? I don't know. Maybe it's just my oversight, but the way I see it, I'm like, you call these gangs, like, you call these thugs, like, I feel like, yeah, they got Hollywood thugs. Their thugs to me are Joe, y'all. they are entertainers, which is a good thing. I'm not trying to like put down the black people here who want to be thugs, but I just find it quite ironic and I find it hilarious, when I come across these thugs, these gang members, and if you are a gang member and you watching this, don't come attack me because you want to be perceived as so hard and so tough. I get it. It's important for, I guess, especially black men to keep up this image, that you're tough and you're hard, but you don't have to be in a gang to be hard and tough. There are hard and tough black men who are not even affiliated with gangs, but I get it, I get it. I get it. That's your way of belonging, and I'm not here to attack gang members, but I do have to be honest and give my reaction to the experience. Like, I've had in riding public transportation and come across these, I call them Hollywood gangsters. Like, they are funny. They are funny. Like, the other day I was on a bus and I wanted to say he was a Crip, obviously, because there was another black man who came on the bus behind him. So the first guy got on the bus, he was about, I don't know, he was pretty tall, maybe 6'4", kind of built. He was wearing blue. And the guy who got on the bus behind him, he was also black, but he was wearing red. He had these bandanas and all these face tattoos and stuff. And so the first guy, the Crip, I guess he felt some kind of way by the guy behind him, or maybe they knew each other because he was like, he turned around to the guy and he was loud as hell. He was like, "Dude, I know you." He didn't say "dude," but this is my paraphrasing, my rephrasing of his words. He was like, "I know you following me. I know you are blood. Stop fucking following me." And he was like really sizing the dude up. And so the Crip, the blood guy, the red, he went straight to the back of the bus and kind of just dismissed the guy and ignored him or whatever, right? Meanwhile, the Crip, the first black guy who got on the bus, he still felt, I guess, offended. He felt some kind of way. And he was still going out. He was like, "Yeah, y'all think I'm soft. Y'all, you niggas think I'm soft. I beat your ass." And he was like really trying to size the dude up. He was really basically trying to call the dude out for a fight. But the red dude, the blood, he wasn't trying to hear it. He was just like, yeah, whatever. He basically completely ignored him. And the guy is like, the more the red, the blood ignored the Crip, the more the Crip just kept like going at the dude. And then not only that, I guess the Crip dude was so frustrated because I usually sit in the front of the bus. That's just how I like to sit, thanks to Rosa Parks. But freaking cigarettes. But and the Crip guy was also sitting in the front of the bus, and so we weren't really that far apart from each other. And being that the blood was ignoring him, like, it just made him even more infuriated. And he was just going off on random people. He started going off on freaking Hispanic lady, and these older ladies was like, "Oh, what y'all saying? Y'all talking about me, threatening them." And then you just looking around trying to find somebody to fuck with, right? And I'm just like, yeah, say something to me. Say something to me if you want to, because I felt like what he was doing was totally out of line. It was just totally disrespectful. And I really wish that there was a courageous black man to stand up against him on this bus, because I could have easily said something to him like, "Dude, what you saying is inappropriate." But I felt like that would be the prime bait for him, to give him a reason to try to show his manhood, by trying to say something or even, try to put his hands on me. So I just, kind of sat there and just listened. I'm just like, this is a show. Like, this is a clown show. And then he realized that we were taking a detour. So he ended up asking a bus driver to let him off. He was like, "Mama," he's like, "Mama, can you let me off at this stop, please?" It wasn't even an official stop, but I guess she was fed up, with him, so she ended up letting him off or whatever. And everybody on the bus was like, "Thank God," because he was more annoying than anything. Nobody, I think, really saw him as a real threat. Although you still have to play it safe because you just never know. You know, you just never know. But it's just like, oh my gosh, he's a big ass baby. That's what he is. Oh my gosh, y'all, excuse the noise. I hope they go away. Me doing my videos outside. Gosh, I picked the freaking right place to do my videos, y'all. Maybe I can just talk over and maybe you guys can hear me, or maybe I need to, let me see. Okay, so that was that situation. But last night, to me, I think, I'm trying to hurry and wrap this up real quick. But last night was like, to me, it was hilarious because I was actually coming back. I was actually coming back from my prac site, headed back to Hollywood, y'all, and it was a circus show on there for real. Like, this is why sometimes I don't even mind riding it because it can be entertaining, and it can be a real big adventure just riding public transportation. So this is why sometimes I don't mind it, you know. And I'm on the train, I'm on a bus, y'all, right? And so it was this guy, this man, this black man. Actually, it was two of them. I think they were homeless because one of them actually asked for a courtesy ride from the driver, and she didn't say nothing. He just kept walking, and I guess the guy he was with, he was like, man, fuck that, we homeless, you know, I ain't gotta ask no courtesy ride. Like, he felt like entitled to get a free ride because he was homeless. I guess he felt like, okay, what's she gonna do? What's the worst that can happen? I'm homeless, right? And I feel like a lot of homeless people, you know, have that same approach. And so he's just like, whatever, you know. So he came on there and he sat down, but it was funny because before he got on the bus, it was some black lady that was going off on him, right? She was just going off. Like, I can't remember what she was saying, but she was so loud that people on the bus can hear her, right? So he get on the bus and sit down, and the bus driver started to pull off, and you can still hear her voice. So he was like, what is she at? Is she on top of the bus? I just had me rolling. I'm like, this junk is too funny, right? Because you can still hear her, like she was just going off. And I'm just like, hell to the fucking like, I felt like I was in a scene of a movie, y'all. And that was just the first incident. So he get on there, he sat down, he said that little joke. Then it was two young boys. They had been probably in the early 20s, two black boys in the back of the bus. And you can't help but hear their conversation. It was loud, you know, loud as hell. And you hear one of them saying, he was talking about poor people, right? So he was like, there's different levels to poverty. He was like, you got the po-po. He was like, the po-po people, you know, who are homeless, and then you got people living in poverty who right above the po-po people. It's like the way he told the story. I can't even duplicate it, y'all. I wish y'all could be there, but it was just, it had me like, I was tickled on the inside just listening to them talk. And so he was like, you got the people living in poverty that's right above the po-po people. And he was like, that's us. Everybody on this bus, we fall in that category. We fall in the poverty category. So we right above the po-po people. Just like, Lord have mercy. Y'all, the stories that I hear on I overhear people talking on public transportation, I swear I can write a book on, y'all. Like, this ain't even touching the surface, y'all. You see some interesting cases on the bus, man. So he talking about that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, he is a trip, right? And then he go and he started telling his friend, his guy friend, about this incident that happened between him and his girlfriend. He was like, yeah, man. He was like, black people going to the white man about their problems, taking the black people problems to the white man. And you know that got my attention because race came in the picture. I'm like, interesting. So I'm sitting at the front of the bus. You can still, like, they talking so loud, you can hear them from the back of the bus. So he go and started telling his friend about what happened between him and his girl. And he was like, him and his girl got into an argument, and she just started attacking him. And but she called the police, and he was like, yeah, she thought that she was gonna call the police and get me locked up, but they came out and they took her ass to jail. It was like the police came and it was looking at him, and he lifted up his shirt and showed the police scratches all over his body, and the police were like, damn, look like you got attacked by a cat. And they like made a joke. He said the police made a joke out of it, but they ended up taking her to jail. He was like, yeah, and of course he used profanity and stuff. And I'm shaking my head like, oh my God, it's like, it don't get no crazier than this, y'all. And then, like, that wasn't even halfway through the ride. Like, so then we riding on the bus, and some white lady get on the bus, and she had, like, it looked like she could have been diabetic because her legs were really big, like, looked like tree trunks, like big, thick. And she get on there, but she, like, you could tell she was on something. Her eyes were dazed. She was all slumped over. And I think that's consistent with people who are addicted to heroin. Like, they just be all leaned over, and she was all like leaned over, and she, dragging herself on the bus looking for a seat. And it was in the section, like the first seats closest towards the driver, where that's reserved for disabled people, was like several black men sitting there, right? And I'm looking at them saying that I think everybody was looking at them saying that they're gonna get up for her. But it's like nobody budged, nobody moved. And I'm looking at one black guy who kind of like looked at her and just like, I ain't giving up my seat to that, I ain't giving up my seat to her. Because he looked like he just had no sympathy for her, I guess because she was not only white, but on drugs, And so people just totally dismissed it, but it was a black girl who was sitting up there, and she actually moved over and made room for her. But this lady the whole time was just slouched over, like drooling out the mouth, Then midway, I guess before it was time for her to get off, she gonna get up and was like, where we at? People were just still ignoring her, so she kept saying like, where we at, where we at? And so the bus driver told her, and she was like, okay, I want to get off at the train station. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy, like, this is very interesting. This is the ride. This is the route that I'll be taking, going to and fro my newest crack that I just started. Interesting, y'all. Like, this happened last night, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And that ain't even it, y'all. That was coming back home from the hood to where I live in Hollywood, right? So on my way there, it was this black guy got on the bus, and he was like, excuse me, ma'am, can I sit right next to you? And of course, it's like we don't own no seats on the bus, right? So I scoot over. He sit down. He asked me, like, how you doing? I was like, okay, I'm all right. Just to be cordial, I'm like, I'm okay. But I was real short with him, because I can smell he reeked of alcohol, his breath. And I'm just like, baby, nah. So he get up. I'm thinking he was getting up because it was his stop, but I guess, I don't know, he was getting up to see something. And then I ended up just, sliding back over, putting my book bag down. And so when he came back, I'm just like, okay, it was no room for him. So he go and sit kind of adjacent to where I'm sitting, right? And y'all, I kid you not, for 20 minutes till I got to my destination, this dude looked at me the whole entire time. I can tell you feel when somebody looking at you. He was staring at me the whole entire time, and then he kept asking me, what's your name? He was like, what's your name? What's your name? I'm like, dude. And of course I ignored him, because I'm like, I'm not about to get in a conversation with some drunk motherfucker on the bus, who 9 times out of 10 probably is attracted to me, think he got a shot at hitting on me. I'm like, no. And then I'm like, on a second note, like, if he wanted to start a conversation, like dude had no social skills, right? Because if he really wanted to start a conversation, you don't just come randomly up to a female and be like, "What's your name?" The appropriate thing to do is to introduce yourself and say who you are, and then perhaps ask a female what's her name. You don't just randomly come out from Jump Street and be like, "What's your name?" But dude kept asking me. He had to ask me like 50 times, y'all, "What's your name?" And then people looking around like, who he talking to? And they noticed he was talking to me, looking at me as if I'm about to give him a response. I'm like, I'm not telling this dude my freaking name, let alone trying to engage with him. Like, I'm good, you know? And so he just kept asking, like, I swear, like 50 times, y'all. He was like, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" Like, over and over. And I was like, oh my gosh. When it came time for my stop, I was so happy to get off. I'm just like, this is so annoying. And so, yeah, you have those instances where you might get annoyed sometimes. And then, of course, homeless people also ride the bus and the train. So that's another issue of smelling. Like, it ain't nothing worse than the smell of a motherfucker who ain't washed their ass. I feel like that. I would rather go to the zoo and smell the stench of animals. I would rather smell a skunk than smell the stench of a human being, literally, who hasn't washed their ass, you know? And no, it's not me being insensitive to homeless people, because, hey, been there, done that. But, y'all, still, it's like, there ain't no excuse because you got home. Just because you homeless don't mean you can't wash your ass. You got homeless people that know better, and they'll go into a bathroom at a fast food restaurant. I done seen homeless people talk about going to bathe at what's the gym? LA Fitness. They say they have washers there that, usually people from out the street can just go in there and access, So it's all kind of ways homeless people, because I've heard them talk about it, the places around the neighborhood or LA where you can go and access running water and soap for free. You get what I'm saying? So it ain't no excuse for that. But either way, I'm just like, Lord, that's something else. But besides that, it's just like, if it smells that bad, usually what I will do, which I had to do yesterday, and not yesterday, but actually the other day. This happened the other day, actually. I was headed to the library on a bus, and it smelled so bad that I actually had to get up and go to a different place on a bus. Because I'm like, ain't no way. I was actually sat in front of the guy who the smell was coming from, and I couldn't stomach it. It's actually made me sick. I think I have I'm very sensitive. My senses are very sensitive, right? So even the smell of cigarette smoke, I can't stomach it. I hold my breath when I walk past people who are smoking. I just can't stomach it. I get very irritated by that. So let alone the smell of a person who ain't washed their ass. Like, that really does something to me. So I had to get up, y'all. But besides that, like, I feel like the good outweighs the bad when it comes to riding public transportation. Yes, I talk about some of the downfalls. I talk about some of the pitfalls to taking public transportation, but overall, I believe the good outweighs the bad. Like, I save money, and then it's an adventure for me. I feel like I get to see things and explore things that I would not necessarily have access to if I wasn't taking public transportation. So I feel like it's good. Like, even this morning on my walk to the train station, I actually passed by the setup for, what's his name, Jack Black's star ceremony. Living like basically 2 blocks away from Hollywood Boulevard, Walk of Fame, I've witnessed so many stars get their star on the Walk of Fame. So it's just like an ordinary occurrence that happens, by just living in the area and walking and taking public transportation. So I find it to be quite interesting. It's exciting, to me, it's an adventure, just riding the bus, or the train, and passing by different landmarks, throughout LA. Like you get to see things that you necessarily probably would not notice or see if you were driving. So to me, it's exciting, it's fun, and I feel like it allows me to stay connected to the community because I feel like I see myself, although of course I'm getting my PhD in clinical psychology and I'm training to become a licensed clinical psychologist, like I am very much oriented to the community. So I see myself as a clinical psychologist and a community psychologist, very much connected with my community. I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm rising so high above in the ladder, on the ladder, that I am disconnected to my community, you know? So I always want to feel like I'm very much in there, I'm in the hood, very much connected. And I feel like riding public transportation, it humbles me. It allows me to stay humble and just to stay grounded, you know? So it don't matter. Even when I do purchase a car, which I will be purchasing a car soon, but I'm still probably gonna take public transportation because I like it. I think I've gotten so used to it that it's just part of who I am now. And thinking back to my mom, I remember she told me that she didn't learn how to drive. She didn't get her license until she met my dad. And of course, I wasn't born until my mom was 30 and my dad was 42 when they had me. So just imagine, like, up until that time, like, my mom didn't know how to drive until she met my dad. My dad is who taught my mom how to drive, and she got her driver's license. And up until then, she would take public transportation and get around and, like, just doing her thing, It was just how people got around. It's like, it's not a big thing, but I always find it interesting because people, like, they ask me that. My colleagues are so concerned. They're like, oh, how are you going to get home? You take public transportation. You don't have a car. What is it like riding the train? Like, some of them, they never rode the train before. And I'm like, what is it like riding the bus? What is it like taking a train? I'm like, you should try it. It is not that bad. But there's so many fears that people have associated with public transportation and so many horror stories. And I'm like, y'all, it ain't that bad. Like, they have security measures in place, believe it or not. I've noticed nearly on every bus in LA, there are cameras. It's recording, all the behavior that's happening on the bus. And that's not to say you're going to be protected, but I think that does lessen the likelihood that people will commit crimes on the bus, knowing that they are being surveillance, they're being recorded. And the bus drivers are pretty much connected to the police. So if something goes wrong, they're pretty quick with responding and getting in contact with LAPD. And before you know, LAPD is there on the scene. So, and same thing with the trains. It's like there are police who actually ride the train. Sometimes they ride the bus, not as frequently as they ride the trains. And they're on the platforms. They're on the train. So I don't know, even if they weren't, I feel like I'm still good. I feel like the universe is going to protect me. God is going to protect me. And if I made it this far, I'm about to be 35 next week. If I made it this far in my life without getting attacked or killed by somebody on a bus or a train, like, I feel like I'm pretty good. And when I think about it, it's like, it ain't just me riding a train, or like the guy said, I was talking about earlier, that, people in poverty ride the train and bus, but it's all kinds of people that ride the train. That's what I thought that was so hilarious when he said that, because especially in New York, I mean, you have stockbrokers who ride the train. Like, everybody takes the train. Millionaires ride the train, celebrities ride the train. That's in New York. But even in LA, I mean, you have people, working class people, middle class people, take the public transportation. Some people actually drive to the metro station and park, leave their cars, and they hop on the train. So it's like, it's not that serious. You got older people who take the train. I'm like, if this older woman or man who are in their 70s and 80s walking with a cane, if they're not afraid to get on there and be alone by themselves, take the train or bus. Like, why am I afraid? That's the kind of person I am. I don't live in fear. That's not my stance. So I ain't about to start today. Like, I ain't about to start that scary shit today. But some people, they just their whole life is dictated by fear and or what if something's gonna happen. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, you got to be safe, you know, and play it safe, which I do. But hey, that's just all I have to say. I just find it, y'all. I wish y'all was there. Like, of course, I could have recorded, but I don't like recording people necessarily without their permission. You know, unless it's like a life or death, you know, situation or something like a legal type of situation. But you know, I mean, I wish y'all was there. I wish y'all could see. I really wish y'all could see like the exchange, like some of these things that be happening on the bus, y'all. It has me rolling. Like I said, I don't even touch the tip of the surface, but that's just my little experience that I had yesterday, and I just thought it was funny enough for me to share it. Like, I'm still rolling. I'm still like cracking up on that, but and before I'm gonna say this before I end the video that I remember, like, as you can tell, like, when we would start getting closer to Hollywood, because the flavor of the people on the bus started to change. It's like the black people started to get off, and then white people started to get on. So I'm like, okay, without even paying attention to the announcements of where we were, what stops we were approaching, it's like I already knew I was getting close back to home. I'm like, the bus kind of got mighty quiet, you know, like at the drop of a dime, but. Anyway, I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta get some work done for my dissertation, but I will catch you guys later. Feel free to share this video and feel free to share your experiences riding public transportation, wherever city that you live. Make sure you include the name of the city that you live and your experience in riding public transportation. I'll catch you guys in the next vlog. Have a good one. Bye.